We're the American Red Devils, and we're recapping Manchester United's 1-0 loss against Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, sir, in North London. Not great, not good enough from United. Broken down, beaten down Manchester United side. Lots of injuries coming in midweek. Thought we had a week off. Thought we were stretching out these games now to once a week over the next month. And here we have this injury crisis that started with Martinez, and then 3 more players blew up midweek. So it was a scrabble of a squad. But United outmuscled, outworked by Spurs. They get a kind of ugly goal, but they had some good chances. United did have chances in the first half, didn't take them. Garnacho had a big one. But United, not enough gumption, not enough quality. And the manager chose not to rely on his young bench, which I don't hate. But at the end of the day, United lose again, drop to 15th place, and we're in a tough position. 29 points, sitting below 30 points. Not where you want to be, sir. I am where I want to be. American Red Devils abroad on the road. But how you doing? How we feeling? How's it going?
You're just kind of chirping through things like it's a normal excuse factory day at the office. This is fucking dreadful. This is not just ho hum, yeah, a couple injuries here, a little bit of this. No, fuck that. I'm so sick of this shit. I'm absolutely done with this fucking team. I'm done with this ownership group, Glazers, Ineos, Brailsford, Ratcliffe, the whole crew, fuck them all. I said it on the last podcast right before January was over. I said, you run us through the season with this thin attack, one injury, it's going to be a meltdown. We have an incomplete team. Look, the manager, we can get to that. This is an incomplete roster at one of the most valuable sports franchises in the world, probably the best football club in the world, sir. Most famous, at least, the famous Manchester United, and we don't have a fucking full 11 we can put on the table. And Ineos looked at it over the January window. We're like, yeah, we're good. We're going to get rid of more than we bring in. And that's what you're seeing. Obviously, the players that we do have aren't good enough, but we're fucked. This is a parts shop right now. And this is a mid-championship table as far as what we're seeing. The quality of the football for Manchester United late in the second half was comical. If you know anything about organization or how this team should be setting up, it was a joke. And it's a shame on the manager too, because he's looking pretty ragged on the bench, but the product out there, like soup to nuts, is fucked. And we're going to be watching this shit the rest of the year.
We're in 15th place. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. It's mid-February. We're in 15th place. We're on the edge of a relegation scrap. We have a new manager. He's 3 months in. And we have a new kind of ownership consortium, Ineos running shit. But at the end of the day, they don't have any cash. The club's been mismanaged for 2 decades. And they are making mistakes. They are making mistakes, and it's not
we
fair.
We spend more money than any team since 2019.
Sir, they are making mistakes. They've been here for 1 year. Ineos have been here for 1 year. So they're making a lot of mistakes. They went all in on Ten Hag. That blew up in their face. And now they brought in a new manager who needs players. He needs time. He needs money. And he's not going to have a lot of those things. So the only thing we can give him is time. United needs this. Hang in there. Listen, I get it. It's terrible. We're in 15th place. We're in 29 points. It's like, when's the last time we were looking at that situation, even given how bad we've been over the last 11 years? All I'm saying is, what are we going to do?
This is not 15th and
get behind the manager and grit through the end of the season.
This is not just 15th and oh man, we've had a really tough injuries, or, we're in a rebuild and you're starting to see something. This is 15th and there's no fucking light at the end of the tunnel. There ain't no player on the, you will look back at this roster on this day and be like, there was no hope. There is no hope. There's nothing. Look at the bench. That's just a joke. That's like Ipswich, honestly. Seriously. We are... This squad, Delo, Mazraoui, Dalit, look who's back. I mean, honestly, in 10 years, if United is worth anything, or you look back at this team and be like, oh, yeah, there were some hit beaters there. Casemiro, Zirkzee, Hojlund, go through the list. There's nothing here. There's nothing in this team. Billion spent since 2019. A billion in. Ineos has about 300 on that. They got a quick 300, almost half a yard on this squad, and it is atrocious. We are in a position where Ineos brought in Ashworth, fired him, right? Then they're like, oh, yeah, this guy Wilcox, he's going to run the show. And Barada's going to fire. We're going to back Erik ten Hag in the summer. That was their call. Then they brought in Amorim, who doesn't have the players to play the system. This, to me, is just, it has to all be about Ineos. Like, maybe they don't own all the shit players that are on this team, but they own quite a bit of them, and they own the loan decisions that we made. And by the way, like, we don't have a team. We don't have a team. And so, like, while Amorim isn't doing great, like, the bucket is leaking everywhere, and every decision, show me a decision Ineos has made that is, like, helping this club out. Like, I don't see anything. I really don't see anything.
I think you're being a little bit of a recency bias. I get it. What do you want from me? At the end of the day, United's in a tough place. Tough as we've seen it. Tough as we've seen in the modern era. Closest we've seen to the early 70s when United got relegated. And this is 20 years of mismanagement, and then you have 1 year of this new crew. I'm not saying that they have gotten it right. They've made so many mistakes, and they keep making mistakes. But don't forget about the Glazers, and don't forget what kind of situation. At the end of the day, but 200 million.
But they're calling the shots
spent
now.
It all. Just let me.
They're calling the shots now. They're calling the shots now.
Sure. They didn't pick the squad. They had 2 transfer windows. Yeah, I blame them for January and the summer. They backed in Tog, but they shouldn't have. But at the end of the day,
they fired Ashworth.
The manager's going to need time. They're making mistakes. I'm not defending Ineos, but don't be like, oh, it's all them. Like Glazers were bottling stuff for 20 years.
No, I understand, but like I'm trying to say, okay, you go to where the Glazers gave control of the torch to that. This whole thing is the Glazers' fault. Totally agree. Even this deal that Sir Jim did. But ever since the torch was passed, it's been fucked. And we're worse. We fired a manager and we had a January window, and we are worse. You should fire your manager, have a January window, and be better. Like, to be Manchester United and like shipping players out and not realizing that we are 1 injury away from being absolutely fucked and in a relegation battle, which we clearly are right now, is crazy. And who runs an organization like that? That's what I just can't get through my head. But, sir, we can rip all day about the status of this club. Let's get into a quick PSA for the podcast. The American Red Devils are for fans, by fans, sir. It's been a tough time this season, but we're back in our squad, and we need you to back us. Check out our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Comment below. Let us know what you think about the club, and if it's in crisis, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, head over to YouTube, search American Red Devils, like and subscribe. Sir, check out our Patreon page as well. If you want to go the extra mile, check out patreon.com/American Red Devils. You can support the podcast. We do a behind the scenes episode every single month. We also have our store, AmericanRedDevils.store. Grab some merch, scarf, shirt, hoodie, pin, stickers, you name it. We got it all. We also have great blog content, AmericanRedDevils.com. And check out our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. You like and review for 5 stars, sir. You will send some merch when you're back from vacation. But let's get into Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United. Was there ever any doubt here?
You're in that game, sir. I think we were in it.
All right, let's get into that lineup. United had Onana in net, Dalit, Magoo, Mazraoui. We had Dogu on the left, Casemiro, Bruno, Delo on the right, Garnacho, Zirkzee, and Hojlund up top. What do you think of this 11?
This is everybody left. This is a patchwork squad. There are injuries. Obviously, there weren't reinforcements made. You look at the bench, sir. All you got to say is, like, that's everybody we had. We put him out there. It's an 11. I don't know what else to say about that. It's an 11 with no reinforcements on the bench other than a bunch of kids. Lindelof doesn't count. There you go. It's an 11. What did you think when you saw it?
For me, it's just kind of the status of the team, really. Don't have one. You look at the midfield, Casemiro, Bruno in it too. That's not going to get you anywhere in the league. Realistically, it's not. Casemiro's not necessarily like up to top fitness. And then having to play Bruno there in a 2-man midfield to do a hell of a job. But who's going to help him? Zirkzee, Garnacho? Those guys aren't going to help him. There's going to be a big hole there. Spurs would exploit it, sir. And unfortunately, that's exactly what they did. You want to break down the Spurs match. How do we come out?
Let's get into it. So it was a pretty exciting, open first half. United weren't sharp or physical enough, though we did get some chances, but I thought Spurs were just much more physical in the 50-50s and they had much more energy. So there was a good chance, 10th minute, Hojlund beat his man well, forces the keeper into a good save, and then Garnacho got a rebound, put in a curler that forced the keeper into another save. So there were some early chances. But, what do we do, sir? As soon as we get some promising things happening, shoot ourselves in the foot a couple minutes later in the 13th. United giving up sloppy goals once again.
Crosses a good long one towards Son, and Bergvall picks it up. Onana saves, Maddison pounces, and Tottenham lead with 12 minutes on the clock.
Really unfortunate. Delo snoozing, the back post header comes back across. That was really the vulnerability, even though Amorim went. We did play pack it in versus Tottenham, 5 wide on the back line. Casemiro had a job to do, but Delo snoozing there, that led to the opportunity. Brutal from United.
Want to give up, of all the chances that we gave up this game, to give up that goal, Onana maybe can push it out a little further, but like you said, it's more ball watching. How much ball watching have you seen in the box, even under this manager, previous manager? It's just not good enough, and that's how you get scored on, and 1-0, sir, quick 1-0.
Absolutely so brutal. Keep going.
Get through it. A good chance. I thought United, everyone losing their mind. I thought we did have chances in this game. I thought it was tighter than people paint it. 23rd minute, Garnacho had a great chance. Bruno found him well, right in the box. Should do better. He blasted it over, but could have been a goal. Could have been an even game. But Garnacho had his moments. I thought he was dangerous. I thought Zirkzee played well. Hojlund's not doing as much as he needs to be doing, but trying to be positive. That was it for the half. There wasn't much doing. It was pretty cagey for the rest of the first half, but United couldn't muster enough to get another really big chance going into halftime. Sir, what were your thoughts? Did the manager do anything? I don't think he was going to make a sub.
No, we don't have players. We're really kind of hamstrung, and midfield as well. Losing Mane was pretty rough. 52nd minute, Tel had a good chance. He looked like a player, could use him in the attack, but, Spurs is that team that's going to go into the January transfer window, try to improve, show some muster. We're selling and not really doing much. 56th minute, Garnacho does well, forces the keeper into a nice save. Everyone's killing Garnacho. He's young, obviously could have finished some opportunities here. I think this season he's going to finish a few, but is he a bad player? He's a good sub. He as far as a starter, underwhelming. I would say that. As far as our attack goes, did you have a look at Zirkzee and Hojlund and let me know how bad Garnacho is ultimately? 70th minute, great ball in for Zirkzee, but he couldn't connect with it. Saw him whiff on a volley as well that fell right to him. And then 91st minute, we would get a sub, Cheeto for Casemiro, kind of a punt. The manager doesn't really use his subs. He's on the bench looking down at his feet. Not a great day. Players shaking their heads coming off the pitch, 1-0. It felt worse than the score line. Didn't show fight, couldn't make adjustments. Manager didn't go to the youth. But really, Manchester United I think maybe, sir, what people are reacting to, I'm more reacting to the fact Ineos, for me, it's about the injuries. It's being light, bad season, incomplete squad. You brought an Amorim, new manager, needs a new system. You didn't even give him tools to finish the season. So then you're already committing to a shit season. Then we have injuries. We were thin. We were very. I said it on the pod. Who's gonna come on as a sub as an attacker? You could use Antony
obvious.
right now. By the way, depth. Like I said, you shouldn't loan out Antony because you need him now. I don't like Antony, but you need bodies unless you're going to sign me up. So that's really where we're at. I'm more pissed about coming in light, incomplete squad, and the injuries. And I kind of knew we were going to lose this game after the injuries. If you have an Ahmad, if you have a Maynard, you got enough there to try to get something or maybe get some results. Without those guys, we're in a crisis.
We're in a crisis. We've been in a crisis. The fact that we're in this league position this late in the season speaks to the crisis that United is in. And I think you hit it. It's just I think a lot of fans boiling over today. I can feel it even in Maui. I can feel it, sir. And I think part of it's because they're pissed at Ineos. And I think a lot of it's being transferred to the players and the manager. But the manager is the only person we got to get behind at this point. It's front office, who knows who's running the show these days. The owners, yeah, that's going to be a whole mess that might play out over the coming years and see what happens. Someone else might buy him. But the manager's been thrown in a tough position. Today could have gone our way. I hate to say it, it wasn't even game. We showed listless periods where
draw
we were doing
at
nothing
best,
for
sir.
40 minutes.
Draw, no,
but we had.
Sir,
I'm just saying we
the
had
end of the
chances
game,
and they weren't ripping us to threads. I'm just this game. But I think United's losing. We just
gave
look
up 22 shots, 7
no
on
confidence.
target. We had 6.
Look at the XG,
we had
bro.
16. I do They out XG'd us 1.98 to our 1.5. They had more of
tight.
a threat. They had more. A field tilt was 59%. 59% of the ball in our third. Like, Tottenham looked the better team. It's not a great Tottenham team. And the real concerning thing is how shit we were so unorganized at the end of the game. Like, in the 70th minute, did you see how much we were giving the ball away? Like, I just was like, Tottenham's going to put us to the sword because we're giving them easy chances. We can't even be organized. There's nothing that, like, the whole point that I'm trying to say, the manager's trying to get them to do it. They can't. That's currently the status quo. It was bad. Like, we go to England and watch a lot of it. We've watched League One. We watched the Championship. That was championship level organization at the end of that game. There's nothing there. Like, that's a fact. It's absolutely, like, there's expensive players out there, but there's no system. There's no patterns of play that are working. They're completely discombobulated.
There is a system. They're just not following the system. He also didn't have the ability to affect, like, every time we've seen Amorim kind of pull the strings in a game, he's been able to make subs. And the subs, they don't always work, but they have often had an impact in a positive way. He didn't have that because all he had with these kids, I think the fan base was a little unfair and, like, killing them for not using the kids, because you don't throw in a 19-year-old. They lose confidence. You got to protect them, right? You got to find that line. So I think that was something that, like, once again, that's on Ineos. He gave no weapons at his disposal. We're so thin in attack. Then you lose Ahmad. Then you lose Kobe. Then you even lose Okoye, right? Okoye would have been better today against Casemiro. He would have had the legs that Casemiro just, like, didn't have, bro. Like, he still has class sometimes on the ball, but he looks so legged, and we just got cut through because of that. I thought Garnacho showed glimpses, sir. I think he is a talented player. We know that. Like, I can't believe it. He got a couple chances. You don't kill him for that, because at the end of the day, he's 20. He's a youngster. And there's plenty of blame to go around elsewhere. But United needs to just grit it in. It's going to be a tough season. We still have cups to play for, which is insane. So we actually have things to play for. It just feels like we're going to blow it, because we probably will.
With the injuries we have, there's the odds are nosedived. Like, honestly,
yeah.
Like,
without Ahmad and Martinez.
Those injuries that's like kind of it. You know, like, 'cause if you had Anthony, it's still it. But you got, like, a professional.
They're 2 out of 5 of
watch.
our best players, arguably.
Yeah. Let's get into the Amorim press conference here. He's having a rough go. Ruben Amorim.
The goal they scored, we didn't score. We had the chances. We tried a different approach with the players that we had. We had to change during the week, and I'm really pleased with the effort and the way they challenge Tottenham. We create situations. So in the end, I think the biggest difference was that they score and we didn't.
Just on the injured players, which ones do you think could be available for the next game?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know. Let's wait a few more days. I think Lenny and Chris, they were sick, so they will recover. Of course, Chris has the heart situation, and we have to be really careful with that. It's nothing about the heart. I'm just saying the heart rate has to be controlled because he has fever. It's just, sorry guys about the situation. So I think they will recover that, and the rest we'll see.
I mean, Amorim going with hey, you know, the only difference is that we didn't score. You know, that's kind of like the first full of shit thing I've heard the man say. The photo of him on the bench does not tell me, like, oh, if only we scored. That tells me that's a 1,000-yard stare. Like, that's a defeated man. And I think that's really what it is. It's like, we're going to keep fighting, but the manager, he wasn't on the touchline shouting him. We were only down a goal. That's why it felt very dead. You know, it felt different than a 1-0 where we only half a turn of XG behind. There was fight. You know, it felt worse than that.
Didn't look that bad. Even in spells, it didn't look that bad, but there was an error to it of, like, we have nothing. We got no options off the bench. The manager looks dejected, looks defeated 3 months in. It's like another manager defeated with so much promise. It's just like the club, we've been through tough times. This is a tough moment. I don't think we're any closer to the end of that moment right now, but I just think we have to, like, grit it through.
No,
I want to give this manager a couple windows, man. Like, give him some windows, some youth, some time to turn the squad over. It's like we have this kind of, like, funk we have to shake off of ourselves either through getting the shit kicked out of ourselves.
No. This is
written it out in a cup competition, but we need to we have to just keep going, bro. That's like how you get through hell. You just keep going, and right now we're in hell.
Yes. So as it relates to us being fans of this team, this podcast, we will keep going. Like we are going to be here. Baby. We're going to keep doing pods. I wouldn't recommend it. Watching this team is not good for your health.
No, Ten Hag is better. It's better without Ten Hag.
It is better. It so, but what dismissing Ten Hag, like the real problem before we jump into the fan questions is we suffered under the Glazers for a long period of time. And I would say it's kind of like the frog in the pot that's boiling. The Glazers put the debt on us. And their bad decisions over time, or at least they outsourced them to Ed Woodward, kind of fucked us, right? Spending the way we spent, wasting the money that we did. We didn't invest in a stadium. We didn't invest in a training ground. We just bought players to sell jerseys, sugar rush all the time, shit results, fire the manager, rinse and repeat. And so Ineos comes in, clubs for sale. Ineos comes in and you're like, damn, they have sporting background. They own another team. They're going to hire serious people. They're not going to do the same thing the Glazers did. And you know what? That is turning out to be a false dawn. They have come in and they have made every reactionary, dumb fucking decision the Glazers did with backing Ten Hag, spending $200 million, $250 actually, and then sacking him and replacing him with another manager that needs completely different players. It's the exact Glazer playbook. And so while I think Ineos in sacking Dan Ashworth and then giving Brailsford power, who is actually a cycling guy and has no experience how to run football clubs. By the way, they've done the same thing at Nice, has not gone well. So we thought Ineos was going to be a more reasonable adult in the room that would calm things down. And I think what we're seeing is they're just the same shit billionaire owners that the Glazers are. They really are. They might dress it up different. He might give interviews, but at the end of the day, firing Ashworth, bringing Ten Hag back, and sacking him is pretty fucking stupid. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Bringing Ten Hag back, not spending a lot of money, then sacking him, then bringing someone else in, totally, that's more reasonable to me. You can't get through what they did without being a fucking moron. They fucked it up within a short period of time. Now you get into the balance sheet and the money the club has, they fucked it and we got no money. So now we're really fucked. And what's going to happen is this club's going to get sold. We're back on the block. This train is going one way and we are going downhill fast. The finances are really bad. They're getting worse. They're cutting everything. And I think ultimately the club will be sold and the manager will be a casualty of that. This is not a manager problem. This is an ownership problem, and Manchester United will most likely be sold, I think, in the next 2 years, because operating this club with that team and no money to change it is not sustainable, and something has to break because there's nothing. This isn't a team. You need another billion on the pitch. How much money would you have to spend to sort this team out? Assuming half the people you get
you need to actually put the money that the deal was for the Ratcliffe minority deal into the club, not into the pockets of the Glazers. So they're different versions of shitty billionaire owners. Glazers didn't give a fuck, didn't appoint anybody, knew what they're doing, and just used it as a cash cow. The Ineos crew is going like LBO, lean to the bone, rushing it. They don't have enough money in the fucking club. They need to, like you said, they need another billion in the club for both facilities, for the squad turnover, and for all that goes around that front office. And instead they're we put 200 million, we used it all for Ten Hag's guys, fired him, that costs money, bring in a new guy, don't have anyone to back him. So you kind of they had the right idea, but they didn't go all the way with the amount of money. He needed another billion. He had to double his investment and put the rest of it into the club.
But you burned 250 mil by giving it to Ten Hag.
The point is you're gonna burn a couple hundred mil learning, and the problem is they burnt 200 mil and they had no more to all right,
you can't do
up.
that. You
how do we course correct? They blew all their money. They don't have enough cash. That's the problem, and that's why they're gonna get sold.
Yeah, but it's so
probably Gulf sovereign owners because they don't have enough cash. It's we need another billion on the club. And there's no billion coming from Ratcliffe. I can guarantee you that.
They paid money. They paid good money for Zirkzee. They paid good money to fire Ten Hag. They paid good money to get Ashworth in the door.
200 million's not enough, sir.
But my point is,
ain't enough.
They paid money to get rid of Ten Hag. They paid money to get Ashworth. Then they paid money to get rid of Ashworth. These are rash, short.
Yes, they're rash.
These are like the 250 million, like whoopsie is like done, is gone in 3 months. It's like you literally like made a meal of sacking the guy. Then you bring him back. Then you have
all the cash.
By the way, you get to the whole, like, they made a meal of bringing him back. Then they backed him to the hilt because they felt bad. Then they sacked him. Then they fired the director of football who they just paid to come in. And then they're like, no, he wants to hire like Graham Potter. Get rid of that guy. And then they went and paid money to Sporting to get Amram, who, by the way, doesn't have players. And the club's broken. They can't get him. And so here we are. And this has all these decisions that Ineos has made on top of all the shit decisions the Glazers have made is why everything's so bad right now. Like Amram, he did well at Sporting. He had a good team. But to overcome all the stuff above him, like, do I think it's going to work out at Manchester United with him? No. I don't think anyone could succeed here. I don't think any player can succeed here. I think it's so fucked that we need, like, this club will probably be sold. And everything will change once again. We're going to go through this whole thing again. We're 15th in the league. They got us on our knees, and they need to sell this club. Let's get into the fan questions here, sir. I'm sure everyone's fired up.
As fired up as you are, sir.
Bro, like, Ten Hag did this. Ten Hag did this.
Not the manager, bro.
I'm not in Maui, bro. You know, Ten Hag did this.
Yeah, Maui helps. I'll tell you
Ten
what,
Hag did this?
You
kidding me? I watched Ten Hag ball, and then I'm watching this. Losing to Spurs? Give me a break. Losing to... Like, we got Everton, by the way, and Moyes is cooking. Moyes is cooking, bro. We got Everton, 4:30 a.m. wake up call. Moyes is cooking, bro. He's cooking. Like, it's like Moyes is gonna be like, this is gonna be like straight up just murder, bro. Like, we're gonna like Tommy gun, like 5-1. This could be like they're gonna run us over, bro. At Grifter 10,
he's due.
This club is just an embarrassment from top to bottom, from the owners to the players, and today the manager joined them. He had a chance to put youngsters in and inject some life in this team. 20 to 30 minutes is all we wanted from them. He gave us 3. What do you make of that? People calling for the youngsters.
I have no problem with what the manager did with the youngsters. The team's in a really rough spot, and expecting like the next Ryan Giggs to walk on at 18. These guys are not ready. They're only there because we're such a thin squad. So it's like, I love the romanticism. I know what this club was built on. I love the academy. But he's not going to put the players in a position where they can fail, sir. You don't want to set them up for failure like there are other players. Like, we need it. You can't also burn the youth. Like, I'm actually okay with that.
You could give Cheeto 15. You know, I do agree. It's like one of those things where, like, fans we're so bad in the league. We're down a goal. There's nothing really to lose. You're not going to break a youth.
You could have given 15.
I agree. You could have
given Cheeto 15.
Yeah, you could have given 2 players 15 minutes, and it wouldn't have been the end of the world. So I do think that. At Moneyline, Mush, United are a mid-table side for the next 3 to 5 years unless a miracle happens. It's a show of the poor financial and recruitment management over 20 years. I will continue to watch because I'm a sicko. I love the game and this club. You know, it's the hope that kills you, sir. I think we're a championship team. I think we're playing championship football right now. Wait till Everton comes it down. Wait till Everton comes it down. You let me know if we're in the Premier League. Had broadcast. When will relegation come? This season or next? Ineos has to like somehow, you know, generate some cash by selling our soul, sell the stadium rights, sell something. They're going to start selling. Like, I'm surprised that hasn't come yet. I'm surprised where's the deals? Like, you know, like I thought they only are cutting. I thought they'd be selling more. You know what I mean? I thought we'd have more sponsorships, more naming rights, and maybe that's because nobody wants to buy the naming rights to a dumpster fire of a club.
Yeah, you're not going to sell it when your team's in 15th place to maximize the value. Also, I think they want to do it around the new stadium, but like that's not. You hear these announcements coming out of England, they're like exactly nothing doing. So they're patching these together with band-aids, and I think it's like our future lies in the Gulf, sir. You know, for better or for worse. So it looks to be where we're headed because Ineos, he's not going to go in for another bill. And the club, we need another billion in. We ain't going to do it. Tough times ahead for Manchester United.
All right, tough times ahead for Manchester United, sir. That is it. That is the podcast. How we doing? How we doing, sir? You having a good time in Hawaii? Hopefully that, you know, the beach is treating you well.
I'm having a great time. I think you said it, sir. American Red Devils are for the sickos. Like, you're hanging in these days. You're a sicko. You're a Man United addict like the rest of us. Hey, it's rough out there, but we're still the greatest club in the world. We're in the dumps. You know, we got stuff to fight for. Who knows? Cheeto, come on, baby.
So
come
I think we're losing
greatest
greatest club in the world status, unfortunately.
No, we're not. No, we don't.
think
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
No,
Never.
I think we're like amongst the top clubs in the world, but this spell of despair is like higher.
Come on. Amongst. Now we're amongst.
No, Barca, Madrid, like, you know, like
Yeah, we're in the mud.
you
We're in the mud,
I
sir.
think you get 10 years. And then if you can't get back, I mean, we look like, you know, like
We got another 10. We got another 10, boys.
no, we have a solid. We have another ownership change. That's like we have another ownership change plus 4 to 5. then we're going to be frisky. Let's get into it, sir. Top downloads of our Chicago. How we doing? Dublin, Brooklyn, Los Angeles, California, Melbourne, New York, Houston, Manchester. Shout out Manchester, Charlotte, North Carolina, Hot Lannister. Great. Thank you to all the American Red Devils listening week in and week out. We're going to leave you with a great song. Also, don't forget to support the podcast on Patreon, AmericanDevils.store. Like, subscribe, comment below. Are we freaking out? Is it that bad? Sir, we're going to end the podcast with who the fuck are Man United? I think we have to ask ourselves that. Who the fuck are Manchester United at the moment?
We are in a tough moment. Tough times don't last. Tough clubs do. Let's keep our heads up. Keep our heads up at Everton. We got their number. I think we're due. I think we're due for a David Moyes stopping, but I'm going to be with you the whole way. Can't wait. Greatest club in the world.
Who the fuck are Man United?